Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome here to the launch pad and our live launch coverage of ULA Space Force 51 mission, a classified Atlas V mission launching from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. If it's your first time here, though, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the launch pad, and here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. We are counting down now under 25 minutes until launch of the Atlas V from Slick 40. We've been talking to our teams down on site, and everything is looking great. Weather over 85% go for launch here today. The Atlas V is being fueled up over the last few hours as teams continue to prepare. We just had an update come in again that weather is still remaining nominal. ULA has entered a pre-planned hold at the T-minus 4-minute mark. This is normal. ULA operates off of two timelines, T minus, and L minus. We always put L minus up in the top right corner because that's your real world time. That tells you how long you can head away and then come back and still be able to see today's launch. T minus is more of your operational time. This is a timeline that can pause until milestones are achieved and then the count can resume. We do have a multi-hour launch window here today, but ULA is targeting a current liftoff time of 6:45 a.m. Eastern, and right now they are not working any problems, and we are looking green across the board for today's launch. If it's your first time here, though, welcome. Take a moment, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss another live launch coverage, docking, undocking, or return to Earth. We got Randy tuning in from Pennsylvania. It's great to see you. Thanks so much. We got Roadman is in New Zealand. If you haven't yet, also take a moment, share out the stream, invite people to join us. We got Bart is watching from Poland. Jennifer is also in New Zealand. We got Father Time in Guam. Great to have you here. We got Exenogear is in Cape Canaveral. Hopefully you'll have a great view here today. Now, we don't know much about today's mission as it is a classified mission for the U.S. Space Force. We've been monitoring those weather conditions, but we are expecting ULA to go live here in the next couple of minutes as they continue to prepare for today's launch attempt. We'll stay on the weather screen here until they actually do go live, because there's a really interesting screen here that we don't normally see that is definitely part of today's mission operations. Yes, it looks like it came out of a Windows XP computer, but some of those older systems, hey, they still work, so why not replace them? You can see there, no lightning detected on the map, so that is a great thing. That's one of the biggest things we always look for, other than wind, and the winds are looking good today. Now, if you happen to be down on the Space Coast, you may be in for a treat, a rare sunrise launch here today. If you take photos or videos from today's launch, there's a screen that I was talking about, a little bit more unique than we've seen before. But again, if you are down on the Space Coast and happen to take photos or videos of today's launch, make sure you send those to us on social media, tlpnetwork.com or at tlpn_official. You can send those in. We also did want to make you all aware of a story that we did publish yesterday that was a little bit interesting to have to put out around the United Launch Alliance. Now, we love what they do. We'll always support what they do, and bring you full coverage of their launches. But the United Launch Alliance has chosen to issue a restrictive new camera placement agreement on all Space Coast photographers, including our crew. So we're dropping a link in the chat there. Take a moment, check it out. It breaks down a little bit of what the United Launch Alliance is saying, which I'll cut to their live feed, which has right now is United Launch Alliance hereby agrees the news agency permission to use the following content with alteration for editorial purposes only. This material is not intended for resale. ULA is authorizing the use of this video footage for here today, as we are a news media organization, and that is why we're able to bring you live coverage today while showing this, while bringing our own commentary to it. So United Launch Alliance changing some of their rules on how you get to use things. In that article, we break down their new agreement that basically restricts our launch photographers, that if we do not use the photos in an article, you cannot use them in any other way, and you cannot sell them as prints for if you use the remote setup opportunities, which give you some of the most incredible photos. So take a moment, check it out, share it around on social media. We're hoping ULA will reconsider and allow them. I do know there's a number of photographers that have decided not to cover today's launch at all. We do still have our team out on site, but we do not have remotes set up, from my understanding from our team, for today's launch. Let's listen in to ULA Mission Control.
Engineer at ULA and your host for today's live coverage of the Atlas V USSF-51 launch. I'm joining you from ULA's Advanced Spaceflight Operations Center at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, where liftoff is scheduled for 6:45 a.m. Eastern at the beginning of our 3-hour launch window. In addition to watching our webcast, you can also follow live mission progress at ulalaunch.com. The count is currently in a 30-minute planned hold. We have 2 planned holds in our 7.5-hour launch count, which give our team additional time to resolve any issues prior to entering the terminal count. At this time, the team is not working any issues, and we're proceeding towards an on-time liftoff. Live mission coverage will continue through payload fairing jettison, which occurs about 3 minutes after liftoff. ULA is proud to partner with the U.S. Space Force's Space Systems Command on the government's final launch of a national security space mission aboard an Atlas V rocket. USSF-51 will deliver critical capabilities to space for the security and prosperity of our nation and the world. Since 2003, Space Systems Command has conducted more than 100 launches, resulting in more than $90 billion in U.S. space capabilities successfully placed on orbit, making it the most successful launch program in the world. The Space Force extends its gratitude to the many men and women in and out of uniform who have contributed to the National Security Space Launch Program. ULA's Atlas V rockets have delivered important capabilities to orbits where they protect the security and prosperity of our nation and the world. Let's hear from notable Space Force leaders about today's monumental launch and the many people that have contributed throughout the years.
I just want to say thank you to all the men and women that have dedicated their blood, sweat, and tears to this program.
United Launch Alliance playing some videos here, some beautiful copyrighted music. So we're going to answer your guys' comments and questions. You can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. If you're just joining us, though, we are now counting down just over 17 minutes to the launch of USSF-51 aboard an Atlas V 551 launch vehicle from Slick 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Atlas V stands 62.2 meters tall. The fairing is 26.5 meters of that. This is the more larger fairing that flies on Atlas. Fairing diameter 5.4 meters, and on board a singular classified mission for the U.S. Space Force. Now, they did just confirm there, as usual, classified mission. That means once fairing jettison happens, that is all we get to know. The mission will continue on, and they will confirm later on down the road, in a few hours, normally, the Space Force will confirm that they've had good separation and stuff, but they won't really confirm anything more than that. We don't get to know where it's going. We don't get to know its orbit. There are people that will be doing some tracking with the NORAD info, so we'll have a rough idea of where its final orbit is eventually, possibly, but it's a classified mission. We don't get much more information than that. American Lover, I heard him say they had a window. May you repeat that launch window for me, please? Absolutely. Thanks for sending that in. They have a 3-hour launch window here today. I do believe they are targeting the opening of that window, 6:45 a.m. Eastern, so they do have time to delay should they need to. But they will... at this time, they're currently not working any issues. Everything is green across the board. So it looks like we may have a good opportunity here today. But let me know what you guys think in the chat. It is ULA. We normally see a hold or two. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Good morning, Penny. Penny's watching from North Carolina. Time for a coffee and a launch. Great to have you here. As always, if you haven't yet, take a moment, engage the like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us as we continue to count down to launch. This is the 100th mission the United Launch Alliance has done for the National Reconnaissance Office. It's part of the Space Force, so a major milestone there, and we're excited to see that. Not many Atlas Vs left, less than 25 remain, but this is the last Atlas V for the National Reconnaissance Office. So a sad milestone there as they get ready to transition over to Vulcan Centaur. You're now looking at live views from Slick 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, where the sun is rising on a beautiful new day on the Space Coast. ULA currently T-minus 4 minutes and holding. This is a built-in hold. L- countdown clock still running. 14 minutes, 20 seconds, and counting. Now they're going to run through a breakdown of today's launch vehicle. Today's launch vehicle is an Atlas V 551 configuration. A 551 configuration means that it has 5 solid rocket boosters on the lower portion there. It has its regular Centaur stage, and it has a 5-meter fairing. So 515, 551 is the way that they organize it. On board, of course, there is that classified mission. This render shows a payload. That's not what the payload looks like. But this Atlas V journeyed from Decatur, where it is built, out to Slick 40 via the rocket ship, was rolled out and stacked vertically over the last few weeks in preparation for today's flight. This is the first Atlas V launch since the Atlas V that launched Butch and Sunny to the International Space Station on what many are joking to be the ISS's newest module. Butch and Sunny now in space, over 55, coming up to 60 days. Originally scheduled for only 8, and still going to be on board for a fair bit of time here. So we'll, of course, they'll bring them home when they're ready, but everything, they are safe on board. It's not currently actively leaking, and they're just joining as part of the ISS crew. So we were talking about this as a team, actually. Demo 2 was a 50-plus day mission. 61 or 62 day mission. So Butch and Sunny need to stay on there for about another week, and they will actually match the same length of time scheduled that the Bob and Doug did as part of SpaceX's demo mission to the ISS. But that was scheduled as such, as they were part of a spacewalk plan. They did 4 spacewalks as part of Demo 2 because they needed to replace batteries on some systems, and he had the experience to do so. Butch and Sunny not doing any spacewalks. Again, another beautiful live view out at Slick 41, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. L-12 minutes, 5 seconds and counting. Keep sending in your comments and questions in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and let's listen back into ULA Mission Control. Or not, they're going to play another video with some beautiful copywritten music. They love their copywritten music. American Lover, I have seen hundreds of launches. I live 15 minutes from the launch site, and I have never heard of ULA as... Are they relatively new? No, they are actually one of the oldest. They are funded by they are mainly funded by the government. ULA is a conglomerate of other rocket providers from the 70s, 80s, and 90s that kind of all joined multiple times, and they ended up just becoming United Launch Alliance. They flew the Delta IV Heavy. They now fly Vulcan Centaur, which is their next generation launch vehicle. It flew its demo mission, I believe that was earlier this year, maybe very late last year. It's all a blur. And they're getting ready to fly their second Vulcan demo mission later this year. Atlas V has flown countless missions, but is being retired in a few years. They've stopped selling it to customers, so they have their set number. I think there's probably about 23 left or so. But 6 of those are for Starliner. There's a number of those that are for Project Kuiper, which is Amazon's version of Starlink. And then they have some private customer ones as well. So, we're definitely seeing the end of these. They're spread out over the next few years. Like Starliner's once a year, so we got like 6 years of Atlas. If they continue to go with that plan. But we'll probably see the last Atlas actually be a Starliner flight. But no, not a new company. We just don't hear about them often. I believe this is their 4th flight of this year, if I'm right. The Atlas V, this is the second flight of Atlas V this year. The first was Starliner. They've also flown the final Delta IV Heavy this year, and they flew the first Vulcan this year. So this is only the 4th flight they've conducted this year. SpaceX did 3 in about 30 hours, 2 weeks after they had a launch failure. So it's definitely, I know many of us were all talking about SpaceX being back to flight, but those 2 weeks felt like the longest 2 weeks ever. But just remember, just 3-4 years ago, we had a decade that was worse than that, where we didn't have launches for months. And, for 2 weeks, we all kind of got an itch. So we're really living in this new era of space exploration, which is truly, truly incredible. Thanks for sending in that question, though. You can keep sending in your questions in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. Continue to answer those. T-minus 4 minutes in holding. This is a planned built-in hold. For the timeline, we are at L minus 9 minutes and counting. That's your real world timeline. So we got 9 minutes till the planned liftoff here today. Great to see so many of our team in the chat. Thanks for being here. We got Ian and Brandy. I know it is very early in the morning, so thank you for being in here. I see Amy as well. Good morning. If you're interested in being part of our TLP crew, do have an application link in the chat there, or you can reach out to us on social media. We can send that to you. We are looking at bringing on some TLP journalists as well as space historians / researchers as we expand our offerings at tlpnetwork.com. Devil is asking what configuration is this? It's a 551.
If we take a look at our forecast this morning, our lead launch weather officer has lowered our probability of any violations down to 10% here as we go into our T0, with a small concern for our cumulus cloud roll and light winds. So great weather for our launch this morning. Let's go, team. Back to you.
Thanks, Arlena. We remain in the planned 30-minute hold as we continue towards liftoff. In a few moments, launch conductor Scott Barney will pull the launch team for the final go to pick up the count. 29 engineers and managers are pulled for system status and readiness to proceed. This is the final status check for all Atlas vehicle systems, ground systems, spacecraft, and the U.S. Space Force Eastern Range. The vehicle system readiness pull includes electrical systems, hydraulics, pneumatics, propulsion systems, flight control, and propellants. Let's listen in as Scott Barney performs the final polling.
L minus 7 minutes. Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems, propulsion. Go. Hydraulics. Go. Pneumatics. Go. LO2. Go. Water. Go. Centaur systems, propulsion. Go. Pneumatics. Go. LO2. Go. LH2. Go. Gas. Go. Electrical systems, airborne. Go. Ground. Go. Facility. Go. RFFTS. Go. Flight control. Go. GCQ. Go. Top support.
Go.
Com.
Go.
Umbilicals. Go. ECS.
Go.
Redline monitor.
Go.
Quality. Quality, net 1. Go. Op safety manager. Go. ULA safety officer. Go. Vehicle system engineer. Go. Anomaly chief. Go. Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Launch director.
Launch vehicle is ready to launch.
Mission director.
This is the mission director. You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count. ALC, verified T0 is set for 10:45 Zulu.
Verified.
And if you're just joining us, you heard there, we are go across the board. L minus 5 minutes, 42 seconds and counting. Teams preparing to pick up the T minus clock in just over a minute and a half, currently holding at T minus 4 minutes, and we are go for launch. Atlas V fueled up, ready at Slick 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, ready to fly the 100th and final United Launch Alliance classified mission for the National Reconnaissance Office and the United States Space Force. If you haven't yet, take a moment, share out the stream, invite people to join us. We're going to listen in to the final minutes of the count. L minus 5 minutes, 10 seconds and counting.
Seeing Atlas V lift off the launch pad, you'll be hearing flight commentator Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data. This is Atlas Mission Control at T minus 4 minutes and holding. We anticipate releasing the hold in just a few moments.
On my mark, the time will be T minus 4 minutes and counting. 3, 2, 1, mark. 355.
Ground pyros enabled.
The countdown clock has resumed, and we are go for launch at 6:45 a.m. Eastern. With liftoff approaching, we're going to raise the volume on our launch team so you can hear the final preps taking place.
Three minutes.
Pressurizing Atlas tanks.
Securing LO2 topping.
250.
FTS internal.
T-minus 2 minutes. The rocket, payload, ground systems, and eastern range are go for launch.
150.
Securing Centaur LH2.
Securing Centaur LO2.
If you just tuned in, I'm Ben Chilton, your host for today's live coverage of the Atlas V USSF-51 launch. At this time, the team is not working any issues, and we're proceeding towards an on-time liftoff at 6:45 a.m. Eastern.
$120.
OCU's armed.
FCS count started.
$115.
Produce ECS for launch.
Roger.
$110.
Vent valves locked.
One minute.
Rock, report range
T-minus
status.
1 minute.
Range green.
$40 seconds.
Stable at step 3.
Verify ECS reduced for launch.
Verified.
Status check.
Go Atlas. Go Centaur.
Go SF-51.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, carrying USSF-51 for the United States Space Force on ULA's 100th National Security Mission.
Hydraulics look good. We are throttling down in preparation for max Q. Is everything looking good? P is at closed loop control. Annual program did complete on time. Mach 1. Vehicle's now supersonic. Engine continues to operate normally. SRB is burning normally. Everything looking good.
You are hearing the voice of Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data.
And max Q. We're throttling up post max Q as expected. Everything looking good, following the expected profile. SRB is burning normally. RD-180, operating expected throttle level, everything looking good. Body weights look good. We have now throttle down in preparation for SRB burnout. We are now 50% of our liftoff weight. SRB is rolling off. And we have SRB burnout. 10 seconds to SRB jettison. SRB jet. All 5 SRBs successfully jettisoned the vehicle. RD-180 is throttled up and operating normally. Everything looking good. We're now 34 miles in altitude, 36 miles downrange, traveling at 4,200 miles per hour. Quick review of our range track. Vehicles proceeding right down the center of the range track. Everything looking good. And we did enable closed loop steering a few seconds ago. Everything looks good there. Next event we're looking for is throttling down to a constant 2.5 G limit for payload fairing jettison. And we've begun the throttle down, now holding a constant 2.5 Gs in preparation for fairing jet. And we fired the power valve, activating the reaction control system on the second stage. And we just passed through the von Karman line, 25% of liftoff weight. Ten seconds to fairing jet. We have fairing jettison. And CLFR deck jettison. And we throttled up the RD-180.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T plus 3 minutes and 38 seconds. We just heard flight commentator Rob Gannon confirm the successful completion of the early phase of today's flight, and all systems continue to operate nominally. At this time, we're going to end our live coverage. For more information about the Atlas V rocket, visit ulalaunch.com. I'm Ben Chilton, and thank you for joining us this morning. Before we get off, let's take another look at the liftoff of ULA's 100th National Security Mission.
And there we go. ULA has launched its final NRO mission on an Atlas V. A beautiful launch, 4 minutes, 15 seconds into the mission. And the mission's continuing, but because it's classified, that is all we get to see. Make sure you stay tuned to our social media, TLPN_official on X, or on Facebook, Launchpad Network, or Instagram, as well as our TLP Discord. You're welcome to join us there. It's where our community hangs out in between streams, and we would love to see you there. But the 100th launch for the NRO in the history books, and the final one with United Launch Alliance. We've got about 20 plus more of these, but all for customer missions. But that is going to do it for us here today from our TLP Canada studio. My name's Zach. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss another live launch coverage. And we will see you next time, because space is better together. And we'll see you in just a few hours for a launch of Electron from New Zealand. We'll see you then.